Hey there. So here we are in week 15 of our semester, which means we're almost right to the end. But before I go through what we've got here in Moodle, I want to share a little clip from a video that I showed last week in Zoom. So I'm not sure if the audio is going to work on this, but it doesn't matter. What I want you to watch is what's happening and think about how does that relate to this class. So I'm only going to show you about 30 seconds. She's self has run herself to exhaustion. She is so brave. This is incredible. And she's running fast. Remember, she's 30 minutes slower than what the time is because she started. She is still going to run for 2 hours and 54 minutes. Tremendous. So she's running a marathon. That's 26 miles, 26 point something, I think. I'm not sure because I don't run marathons, but it's a really long run. And she's right here at the end and she's still ahead and she's really having a hard time. She's stumbling, but what does she do? She gives it everything she has to get over that finish line. She can see the finish line, it's right there. And she knows all she has to do is get over it. Her legs aren't cooperating. She's probably exhausted. She's probably cramping and in pain. She's getting over the finish line. And what did you notice about that lady that was helping her? She was getting over the finish line with some help. The lady wasn't doing it for her. The lady was just providing some balance, kind of helping her move of her own accord. So that's kind of where we're at. At the end of the semester, you might feel like this person at the end of a 26-mile marathon, just keep going. Just get over the finish line. Reach out for some help if you need some balance, but get it done, okay? Because we're close to the end. So do all the things and you'll get over the finish line. So let's take a quick look at what we have here in Moodle. This is a spreadsheet and database week. And so spreadsheets are kind of like a flat database. Databases are a little bit complex, and the chapter goes into all the details about the databases. So I'm not going to really talk a whole lot about them other than to show you something here. And I'm going to show you something about spreadsheets, and then you have a project about spreadsheets. So make sure you open up the checklist and use that as your guide to get through the week. So in this Think article, so we've had a lot of Think videos that are kind of heavy, kind of deep, TED Talks, they go into big issues, things like that. This week, we're going to have a little more fun with it. So the spreadsheet curiosities is actually a series of a couple of different things. So this is a short video about a Japanese gentleman who retired and he used spreadsheets in his career and he wanted to take up art, but he didn't want to buy a bunch of equipment. So he figured out how to use spreadsheets to create some pretty amazing artwork. This would be something fun to try. You can use a Google Sheet to make an Etch-a-Sketch game. And so if you go to that link, it shows you, kind of goes you through step by step on how to do that. And then finally, the spreadsheets are funny. This is a mathematician. So he's got kind of a weird sense of humor. But what's interesting is he gets to a point where he links your cell phone with spreadsheets and digital media. So it kind of goes back to the digital media unit when we learned about pixels and things. Anyhow, so that's kind of an interesting demonstration that when I saw that, I never made that connection. But your cell phone's a big spreadsheet. So he talks about why that is. And there's an opportunity for a little bit of extra credit on that assignment or that set of resources. Now, when we come down here to the Learn section, we've got some GCF tutorials, and a lot of people have used spreadsheets before or you've seen spreadsheets, but I would encourage you to go through the GCF tutorials anyhow, even if you just kind of breeze through them, pick up some skills you didn't have before or understand how things work. Specifically, you're going to want to pay attention to how formulas work and what functions are within a formula, because the assignment this week is going to ask you to make use of both of those. And there's a whole video on the assignment. So I'm not even going to go over that. I'll let you just go watch the video on that. And then there's a tutorial about Google Forms, which I am going to show you something about in just a second. And then a couple of basic, about 10 minutes worth of videos, introduction to databases, because it's a little hard to read about databases and understand what they are. But these two videos are pretty good, and they're only about 5 minutes each. So in about 10 minutes, you'll have a much better understanding of what videos are or what databases are all about. And then finally, coming down to one of our final assignments. Next week's our last week, so we do have some stuff next week, including the final. But this week we've got a spreadsheet project, and there's an overview video that please keep in mind is just the overview. As always, you want to go to the Google document and make sure you're getting all the requirements to get full credit on your assignment. If you've gone through the Google tutorials, the GCF Google Sheets tutorials, it's not going to take you very long to do this assignment. And it's grocery store calculations. It's stuff you do all the time. If you decide that you want to buy, 1 gallon of milk for whatever it is, and then decide, well, you need 3 of them, but you need to know how much. You know how to do that math, right? You take whatever the price is, the unit price is, and you multiply it by 3, and that gives you your total. And then you add in tax if there's tax. And so it's that kind of math is what the spreadsheet project is all about. But let's go back up here. I want to show you something. So it's back at the top. I want to show you something about how Google Forms works. And this is going to sound a little funny. I have this on my phone. I actually can pull it up on my phone, this little form. I have a shortcut, and it pulls up the same form on my phone as what you're seeing on the screen, but I put it on the screen because it's bigger. So I have 7 chickens, 7 hens, and 1 rooster, and they started laying eggs a little while ago, about a month ago now, and well, not all of them. And how do I know that? Well, because I started tracking the eggs, and I was writing it down. And I'm getting different colors, but I haven't gotten more than 4 eggs a day, which means I think a couple of the chickens are slacking off, but maybe they're just not old enough yet. They haven't come online quite yet. And so what I decided to do was create this little tracker. So I'm not going to get any more than 7 of one color because I only have 7 hens, and they only lay at most 1 egg a day. And so this is easy enough. I pull it up on my phone and I check off how many eggs I got. And when I go out there, I just, click and check how many eggs. So where's that information go? You guys have all submitted forms for me for a whole lot of different things all throughout the semester. So where does that go? Well, let me click on the back side of what you're seeing on the form. So this is the form description. This is the question that I've created. And in a form, you just create multiple questions however you want. So I decided I wanted the rows with the colors, and possibly some days there's no eggs. And then I wanted the opportunity to put in the columns how many I picked. So here's my rows, blue, brown, green, speckled, no eggs, and here's my columns. Easy, easy. So where does that information go? Well, when I click on responses, it actually gives me a nice summary, although this isn't exactly the kind of summary I wanted. So I can also look at individual questions like by egg color. I only have 1 question, right? So I can look at that. Or I can look at individual responses. So I've entered 42 times into this, and I could go through and look at that individually. And when you guys submit stuff to me, that's actually what I do, like the syllabus quiz and different things, is I go to the individual one and I go down and I can put feedback or put points or whatever. However, for this, going through that is not too useful because I want to see patterns. How many green eggs do I get a day? How many speckled eggs do I get? When did they start on those colors? So you might see a view in sheets. You can create a spreadsheet that attaches to your form. And this is where you can manipulate the data. So it gives you an automatic timestamp. So I know I don't know when they laid the egg, right? Exactly. But I go out there about 3 times a day. And so let's come down this morning. I went out there and oh my goodness, there were 3 eggs in the nest at 9:30 in the morning, which is unusual. Usually there's only 1. So a couple of the girls woke up and laid a few eggs. So I got 2 green eggs and 1 speckled egg. Now what I have over in this column is a nice little add-on called copy down. So for any line, I create a formula up in column 2 or row 2. That's the master formula. And that is add up whatever's in B2 to F2. So all of these adds it up, and that's how many I got in that instance. So down here, you'll see that I got 3. And what copy down does is it takes that formula and it just copies it every time something gets entered. It copies that in. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. I can go line by line, but still, after a while, you can see that's going to get really long. So the thing I did in the spreadsheet is I created another tab where I have it taking the totals from the other side. So from this intake, this is saying some intake, everything in column D adds up all the green ones. Everything in column, E adds up all the speckled ones. I kind of had a blue column because some of the eggs are hard to tell, but I think they're mostly green. So for now, unless they look super, super blue, I'm counting them all as green. But I have at least 2 chickens laying green eggs. I think I have 2 chickens laying brown eggs. And I know which chicken's laying the speckled eggs because I've seen her do it. And so I can come down here and look, and overall, every time I put in a new entry, as a matter of fact, I'll do it on my phone, and then let me take this down a little bit so that you can see. We'll go up here, watch the count. Oops, there we go. Watch the count and watch the chart. So let's do a speckled, oops. Hold on, let me make sure I open it. There we go. I'm going to do a speckled, a brown, and I do 2 speckled, a brown, and 2 greens, and hit submit. Let's see if this updates automatically. Did you see what happened? It updated automatically. So every time I do that, now let's go a little crazy. I'm going to say there was 3 blue, even though there's not, and a speckled. Updates automatically. Now we have a blue category. So the reason I'm showing you this is because spreadsheets and forms are super practical just for everyday use. Something can be very helpful. Now, let me show you one thing about databases, and then I'm going to just let you get busy and get going. So most of the websites you're on are database driven. And a great example of that is Amazon. And lots of people have spent lots of time on Amazon in the last couple of weeks. It's usually a go-to for lots of people. So I pulled up one of my favorite books. Now, Amazon sells millions and millions of books, right? But they don't have an individual web page for every single book. What they have is the template, and the template is populated from a database. So when I looked up this book, it automatically pulled all that information in a very similar way to how this pulls in the information from a different sheet. And so if you look down, like most Amazon book pages are going to look the same, right? You're going to have the same format. You've got a picture, you've got a title, you've got the author, you have the ratings. Over on the other side, you have the box that tells you like how much it costs and when it will get delivered. And as you go through, frequently bought together, like this pattern is the same for mostly, here's editorial reviews, the publisher's details. All of that gets pulled in from a database. And if I go to the author, because I like this author, I'm just going to pick a different book, quick as a cricket. Same format, mostly the same format. So they have a template for books. They have a template for household goods. They have a template for, Amazon sells lots of stuff, right? Overall, mostly things are the same. And that's because they have the template. And when you do a search for quick as a cricket, it puts all that information into the template and serves it up to you just like that. Super easy. So back to Moodle. This week, there's not a ton to do, but it's very useful. And we're getting in preparations for next week. And if I get things together, I might open it up a little bit early, because next week we have 2 things. We have a final, which we talked about in Zoom, and we have the Ask Me Anything interview with a network engineer and a software engineer that I think you'll find very interesting. So hang in there. Remember, you're at the end of the marathon. You can see the finish line. Reach out for help and balance if you need it. And almost there.